You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another blockbuster edge of your seat, over-the-top edition of Global Trade This Week, brought to you by our good friends at Cap Logistics. I am Pete Mento, and of course, as always, is the irrepressible Doug Draper. Doug, how are you, buddy?
Pete, I'm doing well, man. Thanks for asking. Doing all well.
Have we ever started this show where I've said, like, or you've said, "Hey, how's it going?" and we're like, "Man, I'm awful." Has that ever happened?
No, I guess it's one of those things like when somebody in the morning just says, "Hey, good morning, how you doing?" and everybody just says, "Fine," just checking a box to reply.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we should start being honest. When people are like, "Hey, how's it going?" You're like, "It's awful. I didn't sleep at all. You know, my kids are idiots. I hate my job." Just like,
No, it's good. You know, Troy, he's on vacation this week, so I'm a little bummed about that. He's enjoying life, and we're sitting here hounding it out on the show.
So Troy has a life outside of hanging on your wall. I don't know, Doug. I think you might want to double up on the visits to your therapist if you think Troy's doing stuff. Yeah.
I was about to say, if one of my best friends is a piece of metal that hangs on my wall and I make references to him time and again, maybe I'm in trouble.
Maybe you're in trouble, buddy. Yeah. All right. Well, I know we got a lot to talk about this week, and I've got some stuff at halftime I got to get off my chest. So why don't you kick it off for us, pal? What do you got for us?
All right, man. Well, speaking about trouble, I love to try to do good segues, but some are good, some are bad. But I saw over the weekend where there was, there's always about shock and awe news out there. Everything is breaking news now, and everything is monumental. But the one thing I caught was that monthly car payments hit record high, and the overall cost of vehicles is soaring. And the article was primarily focused on private and personal vehicles, the cars you and I drive and everything. But I started thinking that, you know what? That has application in the commercial realm as well, specifically with trucks. And I'm not necessarily saying trucks, 53-foot vans that you see going down the highway, but this is delivery vans, smaller final mile type of equipment. And here's the bottom line, right, is that you got the long haul and the short haul. It's basically just that freaking money's expensive, right? And what's going to happen as these loans go up is there's going to be defaults, right? And if you're a trucker who's been taking advantage of the high market and the high rates out there, you have ditched your corporate job driving a truck, and you said, I'm now going to live the American dream. I'm going to buy my own truck, my own trailer, and I'm going to go out on the road because the rates are incredibly high. Well, what else was high? The cost of the equipment, the cost of the trailer, the cost of getting set up. And so now that those payments are getting higher and higher, there's going to be a whole group of these truck drivers that when it decided to go it alone, they're now realizing as the market gets a little softer and the money's not flowing as well on the loads they're carrying, and the interest rates on their loans is going up, there could be problems. So I think, Pete, that there's going to be a decent amount of mom and pops out there that jumped over to live the American dream and rode the wave, flew too high to the sun, whatever analogy you want to play out there. But there's going to be a lot of these guys that are going to fold up shop, and we're going to see it. Not so much on the contracted lane segment, right? But it's going to be the small guys, the small companies out there that are on the spot market for full truckload and things of that nature. They're going to suffer because those drivers can't pay the bills anymore on this new piece of equipment, so they're just going to jump ship and go over to an asset-based carrier, the Swifts, the Primes of the world, and those guys are focused more on regular business. And so the guys that are going to suffer are going to be the small shippers that rely on the spot market. So that's going to continue to impact the capacity situation. And with peak season coming around and some of the holidays and the ebbs and flows of the trucking industry in certain markets, I think if you rely on the spot market related to trucking services, you're going to be in a pinch here in the second half of 2022. So anyway, unintended consequences. That's, I guess, nature of the beast to get things back in line with the economy. But that struck me when I read that article about private cars becoming more expensive. It's going to be the same for commercial vehicles and guys and gals jumping out to live the American dream and try to go it alone.
Maybe.
Okay. All right.
Like, I agree with you, right? But I was trying to be a little more glass half full today. I was told by a friend of mine who watches the show religiously that I'm a little too Doctor Doom. I'm a little too negative. That I need to be
All right.
a little more Professor Positive than Doctor Doom on the show. So here's on the face of it, Doug, I agree with you, but I wanna posit an alternative notion, right? So just hear me out. What if we see what we're kind of seeing in the Uber space, where the rising cost of fuel and the rising cost of labor and the all those things you just talked about, what they actually managed to do is increase the opportunity for these people to raise rates and make more money. It actually creates an inflated market for them where they can set higher prices and maybe make more profit. It's a far reach. I don't know if it's going to happen, but maybe it could be just something that happens in pockets. Maybe in drayage as an example, maybe in certain markets in the country. I don't know if it would be a widespread thing. I think for the most part, you're right. I think in places where people were opportunistic, you're right. It's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Where they saw a good thing, they're probably going to cash in their chips and either do a short-term opportunity before they retire. But this could be where we begin to see a changing of the marketplace. But I'm hoping there are some people who might be able to sort of ride a bit longer on that wave. But yeah, I'm trying to convince myself on this one, but you're probably right.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I'd give you so whoever your friend is that watches this show religiously, thank you first and foremost.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
And I would probably give you a B- on being upbeat. So ask your buddy or your gal what that first take was. B+, B-, but it definitely was
Probably a
more
D.
positive than negative.
Yeah. Speaking of negative, how about we get to my first topic? Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. See, that's a transition. I sat through endless econ classes, right? Working on a master's degree and then a PhD, and it's almost like predicting the weather. They try to say, A happens, and then most likely either B or C is going to happen, and then depending on if B or C happens, D, E, F, G, or H is going to happen, and then I, J, K, L, and M is going to happen, and then they try to turn it into a science, but honestly, man, it really isn't. And then you end up learning what you're probably going to predict is going to happen next, based on what happened the last time. So here we are in this new economic paradigm that everyone's pretending like they know what's going to happen next. So, great example, right? We're recording this on, what's today's date? The 21st of June. And there was a bit of a bounce in the stock market today. And a lot of that is coming from the fact that everyone is predicting, hey, we're already in a recession. You're hearing that in all this economic news and all the news journals. So like, oh, well, if we're already in a recession, we're going to pull out of it faster than anybody realized. So let's get back into those speculative stocks. And then over the weekend, I just had a great time kicking the dog crap out of Keenan about Bitcoin, right? Like, oh man, look at it just tank. Fucking chew on it, Keenan. Like I had a great time doing that to him, right? But then, he made the great point of what's a buying opportunity. And he was right. Like Bitcoin made a bit of a recovery back to about where it was before it made that dip. And people said, this is this is all speculation. And this is long-term speculation for the people that are into it, which we've said all along. It's a long-term speculation. And people are buying it just as much for the bet on its technology and its promise as it is for what you're trying to get today. All these things that they taught us as academics may not be applicable. I'm going to give you 3 solid examples. Everyone says before a recession, right, begins to come, when it gets to its doldrums before its recovery, you have a huge sell-off on energy. It's what happens, right? So before you see the doldrums and the recovery, energy craps its pants. It's just what happens. Like oil goes in the toilet. Well, yeah, but we haven't had one of the major energy producers in a land war in Central Europe before, and the whole world basically saying we're not gonna, no soup for you, and people kind of, buying distilled energy products through India, and coming to America with it, and like it's never been like this, man. So maybe that's not going to be the case, and that's going to have a massive effect on transportation pricing. So maybe not. Number 2, you usually have a huge deflationary pressure on agriculture because people are making less. And then, you have a recession, which causes unemployment and blah, 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 blah. Well, we've never been in a situation ever where you've had a huge recession and massive inflationary pressures happening at the same time as what looks to be a massive food crisis between blights and droughts and grain crises and blockades and land wars with Russia and all this other crap happening at once. Fertilizer issues, hell, man, probably not going to happen. And then third, people usually rush towards commodities like gold, silver, platinum, copper, and all those things in these instances. And it's happening, but it's not happening with the same gusto that it happened before. People are looking at alternatives. They're looking at real estate. They're looking, honestly, at energy. They're looking at Bitcoin and cryptos. They're looking at all kinds of things where normally we would see them going towards commodities. So we could be looking at one of those moments where the paradigm shifts towards economics, and the things that we have been normally told to run towards safe harbors, and the things that we've been told were probably going to be great bellwethers to teach us about what's going to happen next might not happen this time. So as much as that should scare the hell out of me, I'm an academic. So I'm going to sit back like I'm looking at a roach under a microscope, and I'm going to get excited to watch what happens next because I am a sick and twisted person with no social life, and this is my idea of fun.
The other indicator, unemployment or employment or lack thereof, seems to be flipped a little bit as well. So, I don't know, different era, but you're right. Those bellwether signs are not as bellwether as they have been in the past. And crypto as a method of long-term storage, obviously, based on your rants over the weekend, that is not trending either. So,
shut up, Keenan. Yeah. And as far as employment goes, the government has to start a recession. That's what all this is about. No, that's why I go to the coffee shop and I hear people talking about the economy, and I just want to walk over and say, I don't know how much time you have, but I would really like to educate you about what's going on. I would, because you sound so ignorant, and I want to, if nothing else, can you give me 10 minutes to just try to set you on the right course. And I know if I were to do that, they would lock me away. So I just sit by myself and I drink my iced coffee, and I just say, maybe it's time for you to lock yourself up somewhere on Grinch Mountain and not talk to people anymore.
All right. Well, that rolls us into our halftime show. Obviously, as you know, it's brought by Cap Logistics. We give Keenan a hard time, but you and I wouldn't be here. Buttons, levers, and sound video. So, he's done a great job, and Cap Logistics is a good group to help support us. So anyway, I always say, who wants to go first, you or me, on the halftime? So I'll say that again. Who wants to go first, you or me?
Go ahead, man. I'll bring it home.
All right. So this thing, I always talk about catching my eye, and I forget where I saw this one, but it blew me away for a couple of different reasons. And it's not only with real estate, but rock and roll. If there's, baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet, if there's two things that go together, it's real estate and rock and roll. So first of all, the childhood home of the Van Zant boys is up for sale in Jacksonville. And if you don't know I know you know who they are,
Hell
but
yeah.
essentially it's the crew that started Leonard Skinner. So Ronnie, Donnie, and I think Johnny. So a lot of IEs and Ys on that thing. But the Van Zant boys who started Leonard Skinner, their house, childhood home in Jacksonville is for sale. And this is what blows me away, this next statement. So that was one. I thought the rock and roll, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's go check this thing out. Jacksonville, Florida, 9 bedrooms, 7 baths, 5,000 square feet, and it's on 8 lots. And they're quadruplexes of manufactured double wide homes. There's no better description of the place that the Van Zant brothers would have grown up is exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
Florida, double wides, 8 lots, the whole 9 yards. Love it. And then the thing that shocked me, and I was like, wait, what did I just read? The sell price, $629,000, $629K. Are you kidding me? In this day and age with real estate, with that pedigree of a house, even though it's a little bit of shambles and it checks the boxes of all the stereotypes that you have down in Florida, $600,000 for the childhood home of the boys that started Leonard Skinner. I cannot fathom that, and I had to share it with the group. So, what do you think? A little underpriced?
I think we should buy it and we should start a museum. We
Yeah.
could call it like Van Zant Land.
Mm-hmm.
And we could give rides and Dodge Demons, and we could have Paps on tap, and it could just be it'd be the greatest experience ever. I would go if someone did it.
Yeah.
I would go, but I'm a knuckle dragger anyway, so you know me, man. I'm redder shade of
Yeah.
neck on a wider shade of trash. I'd be all about it.
Anyway, yeah, so everybody out there, Google it. I don't know the address, but it's in Jacksonville. You can pull the story up and check out it's on Zillow, and they're selling it, and appointment only and all that stuff. So anyway, that caught my attention in this day and age where you and I live in towns that have astronomically high real estate. That just blew me away.
I'm all about it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
what do you got?
Did you have a good Father's Day, Doug?
We're going to be honest here. It was okay.
Yeah.
Nothing too monumental.
Did you feel like everybody really went out of their way to make you feel special on Father's Day?
No.
So let's just start with you look at the way it's marketed, right? Mother's Day. For Mother's Day, it's like buy mom jewelry. There's a Lexus commercial for Mother's Day. It's like don't forget to buy mom that new SUV. It's like for all the things mom has done for you. Jewelry, cars, send her on a trip to Vegas, right? What do we get? Right? It's like you get a text from your oldest so you don't forget where to send the rent check, we get nothing, right? Great example, I've been on a diet forever, right? I've lost 160 pounds. I'm just a giant ball of sexy. And hey, where should we take you for lunch? I haven't eaten lunch in like almost 2 years. I don't eat lunch. You're not taking me to lunch. And for breakfast, I have a shake. I've had a shake for almost 2. What are you talking about, right? Like, Father's Day sucks. It sucks. No one said Happy Father's Day to me until I was sitting in church and someone brought up that it was Father's Day. And Amy was like, "Oh, Happy Father's Day." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, gee, thanks." If you don't make a Mother's Day reservation a month in advance, good luck finding someplace to have lunch on Mother's Day. You could walk into any steak restaurant in America at 12 o'clock on Father's Day, like, "Oh, right this way." No one gives a damn about fathers. We're just like, but I'll tell you right now, you better have your crap together when it comes to doing father's crap. Like, woe is you. You mess up one step and you're the worst ever. But Father's Day, a fungul. You get nothing. You get no love on Father's Day. Maybe a card. You can go take a nap for 30 minutes. But go have dinner. Go have a big dinner that you pay for. or go barbecue that you do, right?
Uh-huh.
There's no rest. There's no love on Father's Day. Father's Day sucks. I
Mm.
want a wholesale change to the concept, and I don't want to hear about you didn't carry a baby for 9 months. Nah, but I paid for it for like 20 something years, four of them, like where's the equity in the entire concept of this holiday,
Mm.
you know? I did, however, get a fantastic La Crusade piece of cookware for it, which was just, mwah, you know.
Mm.
But I didn't get a single card. Yeah, I got a couple of texts and phone calls. That's about it. Mother's Day, the house is filled with flowers. There are brunches. There are gifts. There's love and all that, you know. But the tuition checks come to me. The requests for co-signers on car loans come to me.
Mm.
Father's Day
Yeah.
sucks.
A lot of TikTok dad jokes. And my father sent me a text and said, Happy Father's Day. And it was a picture of a baby in a diaper bouncing off the dad's head while he lays on the couch. I'm like, beautiful. And I'm sure some
Yeah.
of our listeners, yeah, they know exactly the one I'm referring to.
But Doug,
So,
here's the other thing, right? Dads get it. Like there's like the secret society of dads who are like, oh, I know,
yeah.
right? But I will tell you one thing, man. I'm starting to get that grandpa itch. Like I'm starting to get
Mm.
it. I don't want it yet, but I'm starting to understand it. Like I'm starting to. Our mutual friend Mark Saxelby, he has two grandkids, and when I hear him talk about it, I'm like, I'm starting to understand it. I'm starting to get it. Like I can wait a couple of years, but the whole idea of having kids that I give to someone else to deal with when things get
Yeah.
difficult, I fully understand it now. I want to spoil something rotten and then leave it there once it starts to get fussy for someone else to deal with in finance.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Love it. Yes. Please take this thing. It smells, and I'm out of here.
Yes. Yeah. Feed it, finance it, and deal with it when it's bad. I just want to
Yes.
fill it full of sugar and buy it crap and leave it. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, hey, now that we're into third quarter, I'm going to jump in here. So my second topic is about the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Job Act, right? You always got to make sure you have bipartisan. I think literally that
Yeah.
is part of the act. You got to put that in there.
Yeah.
And I thought of that because of something I saw about something that Houston's doing. But my take is that a new era of funding, or is it just pretty much hype? So here's the gist for a quick recap. In our specific industry, $17 billion for ports and like $25 billion for airports. So I started reading the fine print. Here's what that equates to. Repair and maintenance of backlog. All right, that's kind of infrastructure. Check that one off. That's legit. Reduce emissions near ports. So the key thing there is reducing the emissions. It has nothing to do with fixing stuff, right? We need to fix the stuff to move the things. But it's important, so that's kind of a check. And then another one they spoke about is to promote electrification and low carbon technology. Now, the concept of promoting it, to me, that means ad agency, hyping up what potentially could happen and what you should do as an individual. So again, nope, that's not a check. So I'm disappointed. We've talked about this before, but the thing that really is important with this topic right here, Pete, is what the Port of Houston is doing, because they're saying, F this, we're on our own. So the Port of Houston, the Houston Ship Channel expansion, it's like a $1 billion plan over 10 years. But what's happening right now, and it is literally happening right now, is to dredge and widen about 17 miles, excuse me, of that section. It's a 26-mile terminal-ish, and they're going to take 17 miles of it and make it like 150 feet wider and a couple feet deeper. And the most significant thing about that, because I read this and I did research because I don't want to get this one wrong, the Port of Houston and local partners have committed to directly fund the construction and widening the channel. That means they're not waiting for Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. They're saying, in classic Texas fashion, we're doing this ourselves, boys. Let's get it done. And I can applaud the fact that, waiting for the government, hey, it's not going to happen. Go America. I love it. And I applaud the fact that they're trying to do something. But $17 billion isn't going to do anything. And I think you're going to see a lot more. Forget public-private partnerships. I think it's going to be more private partnerships where they can own the rails, like you and I have spoken about, that are really going to make and drive revenue for that entity. So anyway, kudos to the Port of Houston. They're not waiting for the government to fix it for them. They're taking it bull by the horns, and they're getting it done. So I thought that was kind of cool, and I want to give them a shout out. And I think you'll see more and more of that as infrastructure desperately needed at the port level.
Yeah, buddy. Don't mess with Texas. A big shout out to Houston and the Port of Houston. The Houston Ports Authority. They, not to bury the lead here with just Houston, but the port authorities all around the United States deserve a particular amount of pat on the back, attaboy, admiration for just generally always doing what's best for their port and what's best for their state. Whether it's the Virginia Port Authorities, the Georgia Port Authorities, New York, New Jersey. I mean, you can name them all. All been down the East Coast, all been down the West Coast. These are autonomous groups that are working hard day and night, generally speaking, to find some kind of an edge. They're constantly in competition with one another. So if you're LA, which is a great example, particularly now with the labor stuff, you're thinking to yourself, all right, we got an edge, biggest, huge. We're closest to what's going on in Asia. How do we make sure that we've got some way, with all the regulations that are against us, working against us, trying to make the environment better, to find some way to deal with the East Coast, which is starting to get a leg up on us. Let's face it, between Savannah and New York, New Jersey. And then you've got Houston, who's like, people don't think of us as a container port. What do? We're going to dredge. We can make better road infrastructure. And then they have a very, very supportive business community in Houston, extremely supportive. And they've got a very supportive government infrastructure between the governor, the state legislature. And again, I cannot stress enough the business environment in Texas of billionaires and individual investors and huge corporations that are just saying, we will help fund this because it matters to us as a state to keep our internal infrastructure because of the central location of that state. They believe that it can matter. It can matter all the way up through Canada, all the way down and through Mexico. Then you look at just how little was invested by the federal government. They don't have a choice. They're saying to themselves, we have to come to our own rescue. Much like Savannah did 10, 15 years ago, we don't have a choice. We got to come to our own rescue. And when I saw you put this down for one of your topics, man, I just thought to myself, this needs to be what airports do next. We have to come to our own rescue when it comes to cargo because no one else is coming, man. Nobody else is coming. They've got to take that same attitude that ocean ports are doing. And this is just the first step. Ocean ports are going to take that next step and say, that next connector beyond our gates. We have to consider what's going to happen beyond our gates to lessen congestion, make it easier for the dray carriers, make it easier to find storage for containers and empties, and take that next level beyond the gates of our port to make it easier to work with us. What do we have to do to make this even easier? So yeah, I agree with you. Golf clap for the Port of Houston and every other port that's been working hard. Norfolk, who doesn't get enough love. Charleston, who doesn't get enough love. Certainly Georgia ports. My God, what Savannah's done in the last couple of years. Absolutely incredible. Port in New Jersey and New York. How about Boston, my local port, who managed to get a liner carrier back in there? Oh, my Lord. All the work that they've done there. Portland, Seattle, all of them. I can't say enough about all the hard work that they've done to get people to care again. Yeah, man, just the work that individual ports and terminals do, they deserve all the love in the world, man.
Yeah, agreed. So bring us home, my man.
Yeah, I don't want to put a pin in it too fast, and I don't want to give too much credit to it too quickly either. But you start to see the Twitter stuff, you start to see things in the Journal of Commerce, and there's like some Schadenfreude, which is one of my favorite words ever. It's that German word for taking pleasure or joy in the pain of other people. It's like, there's that 90s word haters, like I get off on watching other people be miserable, but there's a certain degree of Schadenfreude that people are getting after really being miserable the last couple of years from these ocean rates. Like, oh, is it finally happening? Is the market turning? Are we finally going to get them? Are these ocean carriers finally going to take it, right? And you're seeing it, particularly in Twitter, which I limit myself to 20 minutes a day. And I pretty much read nothing but ocean stuff, what's going on in ocean, because that's such an important part of my job. But man, people are starting to get fired up. They're like, oh, what's going on to Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd and the CMA finally getting theirs. I'm like, you guys have got to calm down. Yeah, there's been an adjustment to rates because of what happened at COVID, but this is a 6 to 8 week change that happens, and there's bunkers, and I don't believe that we're getting this wholesale change to rates and wholesale change to the marketplace. And I think that we should never forget that you're dealing with an industry that can control capacity. If they want to take ships off of voyages, they will. If they want to limit the number of ships that are moving, they will. Many of them control a tremendous amount of the port infrastructure around the world. And they can control the number of new containers that are coming in, and they can take the old ones out. They have a tremendous amount of control. And if you think for a minute that they're not going to use that control to maintain the level of profit that they have enjoyed, and to take all the lessons that they have learned through this pandemic and to apply them with intent and intelligence to maintain that level of profit on behalf of their shareholders, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, everyone that listens, I imagine, you and I, we work for companies. And the people that we work for expect us to make money for them, just like these ocean carriers do. And to be brutally honest, as someone who buys a crap ton of ocean space, I want my vendors to make money because it's going to give them something to reinvest into their business so that they're more efficient, that they maintain modern fleets, that they're constantly modernizing. It's safer for their, I was a sailor, man. I want safe environments for these men and women that are at sea. And I want to make sure that my stuff gets from one place to another in the condition that I handed it over to them. So, I'm not sitting here wishing horrible things on these ocean carriers. Do I hope that the market gets a little more reasonable? Of course I do. But that will happen as the market changes with the economy. I don't think that we're going to have some wholesale collapsing of the marketplace because these carriers are never going to let it happen. But I do think that we're beginning to see a normalization of those rates, and that normalization is happening before our eyes. It is not a collapse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed on a couple reasons. One, the normalization is now here, right? Used to be here, so you can renormalize, but it's not where it's going to be. And like, who's the oversight, right? We've talked about this, that they're essentially meaning the steamship lines. And I don't know if this is a term of endearment because it's a weird one, but it's like the mafia, man. They get together and they can do whatever they want. And who's the oversight? The government, the U.S. government has zero. So in my opinion, anything that is out there that says we're going to fix the high prices of ocean freight is a little naive.
It's a fantasy.
They also, and we just spoke about it in mine, you spoke about it earlier, they own the rails, right? We've talked about how that, and you're seeing Amazon and all these companies, Target, Walmart, trying to buy some of the infrastructure that has nothing to do with their core business, but is really starting to become their core business in transportation and logistics and getting stuff to their customers. That's owning the rails. And those guys are, own it, or the proverbial rails, which in this instance is the ships. And so the line has been set high. It's not coming back down, and 100% agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, how realistic do you think it is for someone like Amazon or even the company I work for to go out and buy 30 big container ships? I don't think it is, man. I don't think that maybe it could be, but if these ocean carriers wanted to freeze you out of that marketplace, they could. They could freeze you out of the shipbuilding business, the ship repair business, the bunker business, if they so chose to do it. So it's a tightrope, man. It's a tightrope.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, I think that wraps it up. 4 good topics, some phenomenal halftime, and some good feedback from your friend that watches the show. We'll stay positive and always forward thinking and forward looking. We don't talk about what happened. We have the guts, Pete, to talk about what will happen. And you know what? We'll be wrong some of the time, but at least we're moving forward, and we're right. If you look at some of our older shows, we're pretty spot on. So forward thinking, that's what we're giving our listeners, and we appreciate them tuning in every week. And obviously, Cap Logistics, we wouldn't be here without you guys. So as I say in my post, namaste. And that's a wrap. Pete, thanks so much. I think it was a good show.
Thanks, buddy.
And have an awesome week. All right, man?
You too, pal. Thanks, everybody. See you again soon.
Take care.